My dad's fiancée tried to kick me out of my own house, but I turned the tables. Have you ever had someone walk into your life and act like they owned everything you worked for? This is the story of a 21-year-old guy who inherited his grandparents' house. I never thought I'd end up in this kind of family drama, but here we are. The story starts almost 9 years ago, back when my mom passed away. I was only 12, a kid trying to figure out life while my dad was falling apart. Grief doesn't make people better. It usually drags out the worst in them. For my dad, that worst part was control. He needed everything his way, on his timeline, with his approval. My grandparents, bless them, took me in. Their house wasn't new. It creaked when the wind blew too hard, and the wallpaper looked like it came out of a time capsule from the 70s, but it was solid. For bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen big enough for Thanksgiving dinners, and 3 acres of land that backed into woods. It was a place that felt like it could keep secrets. My best friend Ian lived down the road. He was the one constant I could count on, whether it was building forts in the woods, sneaking sodas late at night, or just hanging out in the barn pretending we were older than we were. He was my brother in everything but blood. Dad would come by on weekends or holidays. He'd walk in like he still owned the place, start barking orders about how Grandpa should mow the lawn, or how I should focus more on sports and less on wasting time drawing or gaming. Even as a kid, I recognized that his visits weren't about love, they were about control. When Grandpa passed, things shifted. I was 17. After the funeral, the lawyer pulled me aside. That was the day I found out the house wasn't Dad's, it was mine. Grandma and Grandpa had left it all to me. The land, the beat-up pickup truck, the savings they had quietly built up. I still remember the look on Dad's face when he overheard. Not sorrow, not relief, but irritation. Like I'd just made his life harder by existing. From that moment on, everything between us carried an unspoken tension. He kept acting like the man of the house, but deep down, he knew the truth. I was the one holding the deed. Ian saw it too. He just smirked and said, "Well, Thanksgiving is going to be awkward." Fast forward a few years. Dad started dating again. Nothing serious at first, random coffee dates, awkward dinners with women who never stuck around. Then came Jennifer, a preschool teacher, 30 years old, with 2 kids and a perfectly polished lifestyle. She had that Instagram mom vibe, yoga pants, spotless SUV, organic snacks, and unsolicited opinions. The first time she visited, she walked through Grandma's house like it was a fixer-upper waiting for her personal touch. She touched the wallpaper, called it authentic in a tone that meant trashy, and rearranged pillows like she was auditioning for HGTV. My stomach turned. Her kids, Hunter and Paisley, because of course those were their names, were miniature chaos gremlins. Hunter, 8, had that look in his eyes like he enjoyed breaking things just to watch your reaction. Paisley, 6, knocked over Grandma's favorite plant and then glared at me like it was my fault. Jennifer just laughed. "Oh, kids will be kids." Ian stopped by after they left, looked around at the rearranged living room, and said, "Well, she seems fun." His sarcasm was sharp enough to cut glass. And yet, Dad fell for her. Hard. He bought new clothes, whitened his teeth, and acted like a 20-year-old again. Classic midlife crisis, except instead of buying a motorcycle, he bought himself a ready-made family. Within months, Jennifer was practically living in the house. Her stuff filled Dad's bathroom. Her SUV was in the driveway more than at her own place. Hunter and Paisley claimed the guest room. And Dad, he was glowing, playing the role of strong provider while Jennifer stroked his ego and whispered how wise and capable he was. But I saw through it. She started small, swapping out Grandma's dish towels, throwing away food she didn't approve of, bringing in her overpriced organic alternatives. Then she escalated, dictating quiet hours after 9 p.m. because her kids needed their rest, commenting on how I should start acting like a real adult instead of a college student living at home. Except this wasn't just a home. It was my house. Her mask slipped more with each passing week. I caught Paisley in my room once, digging through my desk drawers. When I told her to leave, she said, "Mommy says you're just jealous because Daddy loves us more." Those words hit like poison because they weren't hers. They were Jennifer's, whispered into a 6-year-old's ear. The final straw was the day I came home and found Jennifer in my bedroom. She had moved my desk, taken down my posters, replaced my sheets with her own, and smiled like she was doing me a favor. I lost it. Dad took her side. Again. That night, Jennifer drafted house rules and taped them to my door, as if I were some boarder who had overstayed my welcome. Then came her ultimate move, the pregnancy announcement. She sat there glowing, hand on her stomach, eyes sparkling with smug victory. Dad beamed beside her, convinced this was his second chance at family life. And then Jennifer delivered the kicker. She suggested it was time for me to move out. Her reasoning? The baby needed a nursery. And, of course, my room was the perfect spot. I played along at first, just to see how far she'd go. And oh, she went far. She even offered to rent me her city apartment for the discount price of $1,200 a month. That was the moment I knew. She thought she had won. But Jennifer had no idea who she was playing with. 2 weeks after Jennifer's big pregnancy reveal, I came home from class to find something that made my blood boil. She was in my room. Again. But this time, she wasn't just moving a desk or swapping sheets. She was packing my things into boxes. There she was, carefully wrapping my mom's framed photos in newspaper like they were cheap trinkets from a yard sale. My books were stacked, my closet half empty. It wasn't just disrespect. It was erasure. What the hell do you think you're doing? I snapped. She looked up with that fake sweet smile that always made me want to vomit. Oh, hi, sweetie. I'm just helping you get started. Your father and I thought it would be better if we got this transition moving. You know, rip the Band-Aid off. My father and you decided? Nobody asked me what I decided. Jennifer tilted her head in that infuriating preschool teacher way. Well, honey, you've had 2 weeks to think about it. And really, what's there to think about? This is obviously best for everyone. You're a young man. It's time to live independently. Plus, the baby needs a proper nursery. Families need space. She held up one of Mom's pictures. Besides, some of these things are a little outdated, don't you think? You can't hold on to childhood forever. Put that down and get out of my room. Now, her smile evaporated. For the first time since she'd moved in, her mask slipped. Listen, little boy, she hissed. I'm pregnant with your father's child. This house is going to be a real family's home, not a hideout for some overgrown teenager who refuses to grow up. You can either pack your things like an adult or your father, and I will do it for you. This isn't your house. My hands shook, not with fear, but with rage. Actually, it is. She ignored me, turning back to the closet. Your father and I have already signed the lease on the apartment. The movers come Monday. The sooner you face reality, the easier this will be. That's when Dad walked in. He didn't look surprised. He didn't even look guilty. He looked like a man convinced he was teaching me a valuable lesson. What the hell is this? I asked. He crossed his arms. We decided it's better this way. You've been dragging your feet, so we made the decision for you. This is happening, whether you like it or not. You made it for me. I repeated, my voice low. Look, he said, patronizing as ever. You're an adult now. It's time to grow up. This house is for families. You'll thank me one day. Families. He meant her family, not me. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Say that again, I told him. Say that you're evicting me from my own house. His face went red. Turn that off. This is a family discussion, not social media drama. No, I said. This is documentation. Because when you try to throw me out of my own property, the law is going to care a lot about who owns this place. For the first time, Jennifer's confidence faltered. This can't be right. You're just a student. Yeah, I said, shoving the deed in her face on my phone screen. A student who inherited this house when his grandparents passed. My name, my property, not yours. Her face went through 6 shades of panic before settling into pure fury. You can't do this, she spat. You have no idea what you've started. I'm pregnant. We need this house more than you do. Maybe, I said, cold as ice. You should have asked nicely instead of packing my stuff like I was some squatter. Dad's jaw tightened. He looked at me like I was the traitor, not the one being betrayed. Fine, it's your house, but you're still my son, and you're going to do as I say. I laughed bitterly. No, that ended the second you tried to evict me. Jennifer's voice cut through the room like broken glass. You have no idea who you're messing with. This isn't over. She stormed out, her footsteps echoing down the hall like thunder. That night, I sat with Ian in the kitchen, 2 laptops open, stacks of legal printouts spread between us like battle plans. He called it war council. Okay, he said, sipping his coffee. What's the plan? The plan, I said. is that I evict them. Both of them. My dad. Her. The demon spawn. Everyone. Even your dad. Ian asked, raising an eyebrow. Especially my dad. His grin was sharp. Ruthless. I like it. We dug into state property law, and the more we read, the more power I realized I had. Dad and Jennifer were tenants at will, living here rent-free, no lease, no contract. Legally, I could terminate their tenancy with just 30 days' notice. If they refused, I could file for eviction and have the sheriff remove them. And the best part? I could demand back rent. 9 years of dad freeloading. 6 months of Jennifer and her brats. Market rate for a 4-bedroom house in our area wasn't cheap. By the time we calculated, Dad owed me nearly $200,000. Jennifer owed about $15,000. When Ian saw the numbers, he whistled low. That's some expensive house playing. Monday, I filed the paperwork. Tuesday, I visited a lawyer to make sure I was bulletproof. Wednesday, the eviction notices were printed on official letterhead. Thursday night, I called a family meeting. Dad sat on the couch, smug as ever. Jennifer perched beside him, one hand on her belly, smug smile in place. What is it now? Dad asked. If this is about your attitude problem, I don't want to hear it. Actually, I said, dropping the folder on the coffee table, this is about your housing situation. Jennifer tilted her head. Our housing situation? I pulled out the eviction notices and slid them across. You've got 30 days. Pack your stuff. Get out. The silence that followed was delicious. Dad's face turned purple. You can't do this. I'm your father. Watch me. Jennifer screeched. That's illegal. You can't evict a pregnant woman. Actually, I said, smiling, I can. And I will. She flipped through the notice, her eyes widening when she hit the line about back rent. What's this? She demanded. That, I said, is the bill. Dad owes me about $200,000. You? Around 15 grand. Their faces drained of color. You're not serious, Jennifer whispered. Dead serious. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt control slide back into my hands. The fallout was immediate. Dad slammed his fist on the table so hard the eviction papers slid onto the floor. His voice shook with rage, but underneath it, I heard something else, fear. You ungrateful brat. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By throwing me out of my own house. Correction, I said calmly. My house. And you don't get to rewrite history just because it's inconvenient. You tried to evict me. Now I'm evicting you. Jennifer jumped in, her voice shrill, her face blotchy with anger. You're destroying this family. I'm pregnant. How heartless do you have to be to throw out a woman in my condition? Heartless, I echoed. Lady, you packed my things into boxes without asking. You tried to sell me an apartment at a markup. You told your 6-year-old daughter to call me jealous because her mommy said Dad loves her more. Don't lecture me about heartless. Her face twisted. This is insane. Nobody does this to their own father. Maybe nobody, I said, but somebody does it when their father tries to rob them blind. Dad's face darkened. He wasn't used to me talking back. For years, his word had been law. Now I wasn't just defying him. I was dismantling his authority brick by brick. He tried the guilt card. I raised you. I paid for this house's renovations. I sacrificed for you. I couldn't help it. I laughed. A sharp, bitter laugh that echoed off the walls. You didn't sacrifice. You invested my mother's life insurance into a house that wasn't yours. That's not sacrifice. That's a tenant making home improvements. The vein in his forehead bulged. For once, Jennifer stayed silent. The next days were chaos. Jennifer tried everything. She called the police, claiming there was a domestic disturbance when I asked her to move her car. The cops came, looked at the deed in my name, and told her to stop wasting their time. She called Child Protective Services on herself, insisting my behavior made the house unsafe for children. CPS took one look, realized she was basically admitting she kept her kids in a supposedly unsafe environment, and left unimpressed. She even called my university to complain that I was unstable and needed intervention. The dean's office called me in, asked a few questions, and quickly realized Jennifer was trying to sabotage me. They dismissed it. Every attempt backfired. But still, she kept coming. Week 3, Dad switched tactics. He begged. Son, listen. Let's make this official. I'll pay you rent. Market value. We can put it in writing. Please don't do this. I shook my head. You had your chance to treat me like an adult. Instead, you try to treat me like a nuisance. Actions. Consequences. Jennifer wasn't done. Week 4, she filed a complaint claiming I was evicting her because she was pregnant. She strutted into the hearing with her lawyer, her hand on her stomach like she was starring in a courtroom drama. The judge listened to her speech, then turned to me. Is it true you own the property? Yes, Your Honor. Is she on the deed? No. Does she pay rent? No. The judge looked back at Jennifer. Ma'am, you can't claim pregnancy discrimination when you're being evicted from a home that doesn't belong to you. Case dismissed. Jennifer's face crumpled. She hissed something about me being a monster under her breath as she stormed out. But the real twist didn't come until week 5. I was at Ian's house when Dad called. His voice was different. Not angry. Not arrogant. Shaky. We need to talk, he said. About what? You've got 3 days left to move out. About the baby. Something in his tone made me sit up straight. What about it? Can you come home? Please. I need to show you something. When I got there, he was at the kitchen table, looking like he'd aged a decade. His hands trembled as he slid a paper across the table. Paternity test results. The baby isn't mine, he whispered. I stared at the paper. My brain stalled. What do you mean? She lied, he said. The insurance company needed blood work for coverage. They ran genetic screenings. It's not possible. Wrong blood type. She was still sleeping with her ex-husband. The room went quiet. Even the hum of the fridge seemed too loud. So the whole thing, I said slowly, was a scam. Dad nodded, his eyes hollow. She used me. She used us. She used this house. I almost laughed at the irony. Funny, Dad. That's exactly what I've been telling you from the start. Jennifer was upstairs when he confronted her. She denied it at first, then doubled down, saying it didn't matter because he'd be a better father than her ex anyway. When that failed, she accused him of abandoning her, called him heartless, said it was all my fault. By that evening, she was gone, packed her SUV, took her kids, and disappeared without a goodbye. For the first time in months, the house felt quiet. Jennifer's departure should have felt like victory, but in reality, it left a strange quiet behind. No more slammed doors. No more shrill lectures about family values. No more kids rifling through my things like little burglars. But Dad remained. 2 days later, I found him sitting at the same kitchen table, staring at the eviction notice like it might suddenly dissolve if he looked long enough. His shoulders slumped. For the first time in my life, he looked small. I screwed up, he said at last. His voice was low, stripped of its usual authority. I chose her over you. I let her run my life. I let her disrespect you. And I tried to throw you out of your own house. I don't know if you can ever forgive me. His words hung heavy in the air. I wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to rewind the clock, to have a father who actually put me first. But another part of me, the bigger part, remembered every insult, every dismissal, every time he sided with her while I stood alone in my own home. You're right, I said. You screwed up. And forgiveness? That's not something you get to ask for just because you feel guilty now. Forgiveness is earned. He looked at me, eyes glassy. So what happens now? Now. I leaned back, my arms crossed. Now you move out, just like we agreed. He nodded slowly, like he'd known the answer before he asked. That night, he packed his things. Not much, just his clothes, his tools, and a few personal items. He left behind the furniture, the decor, the so-called improvements he'd poured Mom's insurance money into. Everything else stayed. When he shut the door behind him, the silence was overwhelming. Not empty, though. Free. The next evening, Ian came by with pizza and cheap beer. He flopped onto the couch, looked around, and smirked. So, the empire's yours again. How's it feel, Lord of the Manor? I laughed. A genuine laugh I hadn't felt in months. Feels strange, but good. Like I can finally breathe. You ever think you'll forgive him? Ian asked. I stared at the floor for a long time. Maybe. One day. But not today. Not just because he got caught. Not because it's convenient. Forgiveness isn't something you hand out like candy. It has to mean something. And right now, it wouldn't. Ian nodded, respectful, not pushing. Fair enough. So what's the plan now? I grinned. Finish school. Enjoy living in my own house without anyone trying to steal it. Maybe get a dog. He raised his bottle. To freedom. And to dogs. We clinked bottles, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like the future was mine again. Epilogue, reflection. Looking back, the whole saga feels surreal. My dad thought he was building a new family. when really, he was handing the keys of our lives to someone who only saw dollar signs. Jennifer thought she could manipulate her way into permanent security, but she underestimated one thing: the power of legal ownership. And me? I learned that sometimes standing your ground means standing alone. But it also means protecting the things that matter: your home, your memories, your dignity. People say blood is thicker than water, but I've learned blood isn't thicker than betrayal. And as I sit on my porch, looking out at the land my grandparents left me, I know one thing for sure. This house, this legacy, this future, it's mine. And nobody, not even my father, will ever take it from me again.